Did you know that Ferrari just made a desperate and surprising decision to save its performance in Monaco? And that this could completely change Hamilton's fate in his first year with the Maranello team? Stay tuned, because what Vasseur revealed could redefine the Scuderia's 2025 season. Ferrari isn't heading into Monte Carlo with the confidence expected from a team that finished runner-up last season. The internal pressure is palpable, and an analysis of its recent performances leaves one clear conclusion. The SF25 is a car with a critical deficit in single-lap performance, which has been its main Achilles heel. The car has a structural difficulty in getting the tires to optimal temperature during qualifying sessions, a technical weakness that has repeatedly condemned its drivers to starting from mid or even back of the grid positions. On circuits where there is greater room for maneuver, this can be mitigated with alternative strategies or strong long-run pace. But in Monaco, where the walls are inches apart and overtaking is a near impossible feat, starting from the middle of the pack is practically a race definition. This problem has deeply affected Lewis Hamilton, who had hoped for a more refined performance environment on his Ferrari debut. The British driver, a 7-time world champion, has been forced into an adaptation process that has proved more arduous than expected. During his time at Mercedes, Hamilton was accustomed to cars that responded immediately to his settings, generating confidence from the first lap of the weekend. But the SF25 has been unpredictable. Lewis has had to learn to control a chassis that doesn't give him the necessary feedback in the early stages of qualifying, especially on circuits with limited grip or very narrow tire operating windows. This has forced him to change his driving style, something he hadn't done since his early years at McLaren. Team principal Frédéric Vasseur hasn't hidden his frustration. In recent statements, he clearly admitted that the car's qualifying performance has been unacceptable. In his own words, the team has been starting from positions as low as P11 or P12, a scenario that has practically ruled them out of the podium fight since Saturday. In modern Formula One, where margins are millimeter by millimeter and lap times are decided by hundredths of a second, not being able to take advantage of the tire's peak performance on their ideal lap is an insurmountable disadvantage. This is where Ferrari's case becomes more than a technical failure. It's a strategic dilemma, a crisis of confidence in the approach to developing their car. Monaco, then, represents the perfect setting to highlight this shortcoming. It's a circuit where precision is everything, where qualifying determines 90% of the final result. Ferrari knows it can't afford a mistake here, and that's why its focus has been on finding immediate solutions. But it has also exposed an uncomfortable truth. The SF25, far from being a successful evolution, has inherited and amplified the inconsistencies of its predecessor, turning the Saturday session into a true nightmare for its drivers. This is the true root of the unexpected move they will make in Monaco. What Ferrari has decided for the Monaco Grand Prix is not simply a technical adjustment. It is a statement of principles, an acknowledgement that something is not working with its current development approach. Frédéric Vasseur, in a move that has surprised even within the paddock, confirmed that the team will fit a modified version of the rear wing of the SF24, last season's car, to the current cars of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. In a sport where development advances at a frantic pace and where looking to the past is often synonymous with surrender, Ferrari is breaking the script. The Scuderia is betting on a legacy solution to solve a contemporary problem. And this is not an improvised decision. It is a calculated resource, the result of weeks of accumulated frustration, in-depth technical analysis and simulations without positive results. The SF24's wing was specifically designed to generate more consistent downforce in low-speed corners, a perfect fit for the demanding Monte Carlo layout. In 2024, this configuration was instrumental in Charles Leclerc's dominance at the Monaco weekend, taking pole position and the long-awaited victory on home soil. The wider, flatter wing design generated greater rear stability in slow-speed phases, something lost on the SF25 due to a more aggressive aerodynamic profile optimized for other types of circuits. This difference has become an insurmountable obstacle in situations like Monaco, where every load transfer, every millimeter of car movement on corner exit, can mean the difference between a magical lap or one hitting the wall. The problem with the SF25 isn't limited to the rear axle alone. There's a structural phenomenon that prevents the car from reaching its optimal performance window in qualifying. The engineers have identified that attempting to lower the car's ride height to maximize downforce creates bouncing and overloads on the floor. This damages the integrity of the diffuser and compromises cornering, forcing the team to make painful compromises. They adjust the height, sacrifice downforce, and still fail to stabilize the car in the slow sectors. Therefore, the SF24 alternative becomes more than a simple aerodynamic choice. It's an emergency route to regain balance and control on one of the most demanding tracks on the calendar. This return to the past also entails a risk. Adapting a component designed for another chassis entails fine-tuning the suspension, weight balance, and thermal management of the car. But Ferrari is willing to take that risk because the scenario demands it. Vasseur has been clear about this. If they aren't on the front rows on Saturday afternoon, Sunday will be an uphill battle. This decision, far from being a desperate improvisation, is the result of a pragmatic vision. Recognize mistakes and act accordingly. But it also opens a profound reflection on the direction Ferrari has taken in its technical development. Is the Scuderia repeating the mistakes of previous years, attempting to innovate without a solid foundation? Or does this move represent a technical maturity that other teams wouldn't dare to demonstrate? Beyond the technical implications, this decision is also symbolic. It's Ferrari publicly admitting that the car they built for 2025, the very one that was supposed to bring them back to the top, doesn't live up to their own expectations. It's a wake-up call for Maranello, but also a warning to their rivals. If, with a wing from the past, they can stay in the fight for pole in Monaco, it will be proof that the team's technical ability is not dead, but needs to find its way back. And if they succeed, this will be remembered as one of the bravest moves of the season. For Lewis Hamilton, the Monaco Grand Prix not only represents another race on the calendar, but a golden opportunity to change the narrative of his season and, in a way, of his legacy with Ferrari. His arrival at the Maranello team was one of the most high-profile moves in recent Formula One history. It was the return of a champion to a historic team, an alliance that promised to restore glory to both the driver and the team. But so far, that promise has been far from fulfilled. The SF25 has proven to be temperamental, inconsistent, and at times clearly inferior in qualifying. This has forced Hamilton to drive defensively, managing damage, trying to recover positions on Sundays after starting from positions that do not represent his true level. And yet, Monaco changes everything. This is a circuit that does not forgive mistakes, that favors pure talent, courage, and pinpoint precision. It's a track where the car, though important, takes a backseat to the driver's ability to squeeze every millimeter of the asphalt without crossing the line into disaster. And that's where Hamilton becomes a real threat. The Briton has shown throughout his career that when the environment challenges him, when conditions are extreme, when the pressure is at its peak, that's when he reaches his highest level. And although he's still adapting to Ferrari's technical and human environment, what we saw in the qualifying sessions in China and Japan indicates that this connection between driver and car is beginning to build. The fact that Ferrari decided to install the SF24's wing for this race is also a kind of nod to Hamilton's driving style. This aerodynamic component, which improves rear stability and allows for cleaner passage through slow corners, may be just what he needs to feel comfortable and confident when attacking each sector of the Monaco track. Because the Hamilton of the big days doesn't need the car to be perfect. He needs the car to give him a foothold, a minimal sense of balance, and he'll take care of the rest. He's done it before in multiple contexts, with dominant cars and with unstable ones. The key is that if this new technical package allows him to shave off just a few tenths of a second on Saturday, he can put himself in a position to dictate the race pace on Sunday. And that would send a tremendous message to his rivals. There's also an emotional component that shouldn't be underestimated. Monaco isn't just any circuit, it's a global showcase, a stage where victory becomes legend. For Hamilton, achieving a significant result here, wearing red, would be much more than a technical victory. It would be vindication, a public affirmation that his decision to leave Mercedes and opt for Ferrari was the right one. It would also signal to the rest of the paddock that the competitive, meticulous, and ferocious Hamilton is still present. And in a season still in its early stages, a strong result in Monaco could be the turning point not only for him, but for the entire team. Furthermore, the psychological effect this would have within Ferrari cannot be ignored. If Hamilton manages to surpass Leclerc on the ground where the Monégasque has historically shown, it would completely change the internal dynamics of the team. Until now, Leclerc has been considered the benchmark, the driver who best understands the car. But if the Briton manages to beat him on his own turf, with a car tailored to his needs, a new chapter would open within the internal structure of Maranello. Strategic decisions, development priorities, even the emotional leadership of the team could all begin to revolve around Hamilton. Therefore, beyond the sporting aspect, this race is loaded with symbolism. Monaco is where the champion has the opportunity to rewrite his history within Ferrari. He doesn't need a victory to achieve this. He needs a performance that shakes assumptions, that rattles established hierarchies, that reminds everyone why he remains one of the most influential drivers in the history of the sport. And if the car performs as it should, if the new wing manages to give him that point of balance he's been searching for since Australia, then we're looking at a weekend that could redefine the entire season. Because on a circuit where overtaking is almost impossible, qualifying well is everything. And if Hamilton finds his rhythm on Saturday, Sunday could be his. What's happening at Ferrari in the run-up to the Monaco Grand Prix goes far beyond a simple technical decision. It's a gamble that challenges the most basic principles of evolution in modern Formula One. In a series where each new component represents hundreds of hours of simulation, wind tunnel testing, data correlation, and precision engineering work, resorting to a solution from the past is not something to be taken lightly. It is, in essence, a public acknowledgement that the development of the SF25 is not meeting the objectives for which it was designed. For a team like Ferrari, with all the resources, history, and human talent it possesses, to decide to return to the rear wing of the SF24 is not only an admission of errors, it is also an unequivocal sign of urgency. Such decisions are extremely unusual in elite automotive engineering. Not because using old parts is prohibited, but because doing so implies accepting that the development direction adopted has not only been wrong, but has failed to respond to a fundamental need, that of generating driver confidence, especially in critical conditions such as qualifying in Monaco. The use of last year's wing has the immediate objective of improving rear axle stability, but it also seeks to restore something that Ferrari has been losing: control. Control over the car, predictable performance, the ability to attack a lap without fear of losing balance on the exit of a tight corner. And the most significant aspect is that this decision comes on one of the most symbolic weekends of the calendar. Monaco is a circuit where mistakes are unforgivable, where the limits are not painted in white, but in the form of concrete walls awaiting the most daring. Here, an unstable car cannot be hidden. Here, a lack of traction cannot be disguised with strategy or race pace. Saturday decides everything. That's why this move by Ferrari is one of the riskiest in recent years. If it works, it could redefine the technical approach to the season and open a new line of development based on a proven foundation. But if it fails, if the wing doesn't deliver the expected gains, then the situation could quickly escalate into a deeper crisis within the team. Furthermore, there is a direct impact on Ferrari's narrative and its public image. For years, the Scuderia has been criticized for its tactical decisions, strategic errors, and lack of consistency in its development plans. Vasseur has worked hard to change that perception, to project Ferrari as a structured, rational, and competitive team. This decision, although risky, can also be interpreted as an act of maturity. Recognizing that an old component is better than a new one is not a sign of weakness, but of pragmatism. And that pragmatism, if it results in tangible performance, could mark a turning point in the way the team makes decisions throughout the rest of the championship.